With the details to the news for Wednesday, October 27th, I am Rikisha St. Louis. Energy Minister Honorable Gregory Bowen says government is considering providing relief to Grenadians under the second stimulus package to help offset the rising cost of electricity. Fueled by the rising price of oil, electricity rates in Grenada have experienced a corresponding increase. During government's post-cabinet press briefing on Wednesday, Minister Bowen said with all stakeholders on board, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, the Ministry of Energy and Grenlec, they are already looking at options and he's confident that they will soon come up with the optimal decision. The $36 million EC COVID-19 Economic Stimulus Support Package 2.0, which was launched in August, provides a variety of benefits to Grenadians, some of which will extend through December 2022.
We are looking at ways, working with Grenlec to see how we can impact positively the steep rise in the price of electricity. But it will not be from the taxation on the fuel to Grenlec. It has to be otherwise. It has to be taxation coming from some other place that we have to take to say, well, Grenlec, you charge a smaller price. What is that smaller price? How much will we be giving up? We will be giving up, let's say, $10 million. And so some other tax type must move to help give that reduction in price of electricity. And it can be done by more than one way. And we'll have to look at it. Do we take out from the stimulus package an amount of monies that will go directly into the food basket for the persons and spread it over the domestic sector? And when you have the domestic sector, you want the business sector to move as well. Some of them are hurting. So you may have to spread it right across the electricity spectrum.
Under the first stimulus package, government contributed $3 million, while Grenlec contributed just under $1 million to cushion the effects of the high price of electricity. Back then, the cost of electricity was not as high as it currently is. Acting General Manager of Grenlec, Clive Hostin, attributes the increasing cost of electricity to increasing demand as countries and economies open up, leading to an increase in the demand for and the price of fuel.
As of October, the fuel charge is now at 44 cents, and the cost per barrel of oil is around $83 US. Okay, it's approaching $100. It has reached $100 in the past. Okay, and this is it's cyclical. It happens. We've seen oil increase in 2008, 2012, 2014. We've seen our fuel charge reach in the region of about 80 cents. Okay, so it's one of those things that happen. But definitely in this case, COVID is a major factor.
Comparing the September 2021 bill with the same period for 2020, he pointed to an overall increase of 30% due to the increase and change in price of only the fuel surcharge. Mr. Hostin said people must pay attention to their rate of consumption as there is also noticeable increase in domestic energy usage.
We ask customers, okay, to pay attention to the bill and the average energy usage per day. Because if your average energy usage increases, okay, it means the impact of increased energy bills is even more severe. The impact is even more pronounced because you have the cost of fuel increasing and then you're using more electricity, right? And we have seen some increase in particular the domestic energy area, yeah? And one has to look at it closely because it will affect people in different ways. Some people, it might not affect them based on your livelihood and the way you operate. Some people, it might. We look at the no movement weekends, okay? People are at home, okay? When you're at home, TV, internet, sometimes you're in your refrigerator a lot. We look at the whole situation with schools and students being home, okay? At home, again, it's internet, it's TV, it's refrigerator, okay? It's more energy. So you've got the double impact.
Cabinet has approved changes to the existing COVID-19 regulations effective Thursday, October 28th. Health and Social Security Minister Honorable Nicholas Steele says changes will be made once the COVID and healthcare situation in the country improve. He announced during the government's post-cabinet briefing on Wednesday that the curfew hours are now 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., with no specific time for business operators to close. However, the onus is on the employer to ensure that this is done in a timely manner to guarantee that workers get home before the curfew period. Charter companies, cinemas, and call centers have been added to the list of businesses allowed to resume operations. These businesses must adhere to the vaccination policy for both employees and patrons. Funerals and weddings have been returned to churches, but with accommodation for only 20 persons. Permission must be sought to cater to more. The health minister announced the resumption of visits at hospitals under strict adherence to the COVID-19 protocols, but restrictions remain in place for the elderly homes. Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs, Honorable Kindra Matthew Stewart, welcomes the resumption of inter-island travel between Grenada and Carriacou, effective Wednesday, October 27th. The restriction on travel between the two islands was one measure implemented by government to curb the spread of COVID-19 on the sister isle. Osprey Lines, the main passenger ferry, has announced the resumption of service from October 27th, 3 days per week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Minister Matthew Stewart said COVID-19 protocols remain in effect for passengers using the ferry to travel to and from the islands, and temperature checks will be conducted on entry.
Commencing today, there will be no longer a need to have a travel authorization to travel between Grenada and Carriacou and vice versa, or for one to subject themselves to a rapid antigen test prior to travel. As a result of same, Osprey, which is a passenger ferry, are now authorized to travel, not authorized to conduct its usual course of business. As a result of which they have published their schedule of trips back and forth, and it's something that we greatly appreciate at this time, because we know, yes, while we are trying to fight and we are trying to deal with the COVID-19 situation, it was necessary for persons to be able to move back and forth. Osprey has already given their commitment, as per usual, to ensure that passengers continue to wear their masks and they continue to observe the social distancing while on board, and that temperature checks and hand sanitizing takes place upon entry on the vessel.
As of October 26th, there were only 12 active COVID-19 cases in Carriacou. To date, the island has recorded 156 confirmed cases, of which 138 have recovered. Minister Matthew Stewart attributes the low positivity rate in Carriacou to the quick action by government to restrict travel.
This was a measure, I must admit, that really and greatly assisted us in our fight here in Carriacou and Petite Martinique with respect to our COVID-19 cases. And as of today's date, I can tell you that we only have just about 11 active cases. And in the last few days, we have not been recording any active cases. And we see that trend also in Grenada, where the positivity rate have significantly dropped.
This is the National Report. The news will continue after the break.
Let's get tough on breed your larceny. It will destroy our economy. Larceny threatens our food security. Can hurt us locally, hurt us globally. To all the buyers, ask for license from all produce sellers. To all the people, 300 for police for them thieving fellas. To all the farmers, please don't steal produce from your brother. Then you're selling to traffickers, hotels and street vendors. Nah, man. Let's do all we can to stop radio larceny. New vigilance, new laws, and a tough judiciary. Stop Grenada's organized business crime. It's time.
To report pre-deal larceny, call 300.
Welcome back. Acting Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sean Charles says Grenada now has to prepare for the future and do things differently to avoid a second wave of COVID-19. He says the COVID situation in Grenada is far from over as the country is just emerging from the first wave of the virus. Health officials have been expressing concerns with the level of vaccine hesitancy, especially with the recent decline in positive rates. Dr. Charles told members of the media on Wednesday that during the week of October 19th to 25th, the Ministry of Health recorded a positivity rate of 2.3%, which he warned should not underrate the level of protection Grenadians can obtain from the vaccine. He encouraged Grenadians to not become complacent and continue to observe the protocols as the country moves forward with a different mindset and approach to tackle COVID-19.
We can expect to have low-level spread of infection for some time. Cases will spike if we create the conditions for this to occur, meaning that we abandon the public health protocols that protect us. Levels will be kept manageable if we do the right things. Hospitalizations and death, however, will continue at some level for some time because, as you are aware, at least about 75% of our population remains unvaccinated. This will be the new normal for a little while.
As of October 26th, there are 6 confirmed cases on island and 124 active cases. To date, 30,863 are fully vaccinated and over 7,000 are partially vaccinated. Finally, in the news, the government of Grenada is entering a new phase with its COVID-19 strategy. Now that the country has experienced its first wave of COVID-19, greater attention is being placed on how to coexist with the deadly virus and striking a balance between full resumption of all economic and other activities and carefully managing the spread of the disease. As such, government is reconstituting the COVID-19 subcommittee, which serves as an advisory body to the cabinet. Parliamentary Representative for St. Patrick's West, Anthony Boson, is the new committee chairman. Other additions to the reconstituted COVID-19 subcommittee are Medical Director of Hospitals, Dr. Taisha Donald, Senior Medical Officer, Dr. Mayana Charles, and Mrs. Adele Gabot Dekal, representative of the hospitality sector. Several committee members were retained, including President of the Senate, Chester Humphrey, Commissioner of Police, Edwin Martin, Attorney General, Dia Forrester, Minister of Legal Affairs and Carriacou and Petit Martinique Affairs, Honorable Kindra Matthew and Stewart, Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sean Charles, and former Chief Medical Officer, Dr. George Mitchell. Explaining the new focus, Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell said, and I quote, "To date, government's efforts have been focused on preventing the introduction of the virus through stringent entry protocols, and in light of the recent outbreak, to curbing the spread and flattening the curve. We now have to transition to the next phase, as the reality is that the virus will be in our midst for a long time. I am confident that the composition of the COVID-19 committee will better enable us to achieve this objective as we go forward." Unquote. That story just ended the national report for Wednesday, October 27th. Recapping the top story. Government considering providing relief to Grenadians on the second stimulus package to offset rising electricity costs. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.